everybody. Welcome back to the Nature Cure Summit, where we are talking about the fact that all you need to heal, grow, and thrive can be found in nature, the universe, and within yourself. So I am committed to bringing you experts from around the globe from many different modalities in the realm of natural healing so that you and your family can be empowered by the force of nature and your own vital force to live your best life. I'm your host, Dr. Michelle Sands, and today I am really thrilled to have one of my mentors here with me today, someone who I deeply respect and is a leader in natural medicine and homeopathy, Dr. Shilpa, and please, I don't want to mess up your last name, but Bhouraskar, I believe is how it's pronounced.
That's correct.
Shilpa, I'm going to refer to you as Dr. Shilpa. So Dr. Shilpa, welcome to the summit. Thank you so much for being here.
Oh, that's my pleasure. Thanks for having me, Michelle.
So as I mentioned, I have learned so much from Dr. Shilpa in the realm of homeopathic medicine. As many of you know, I am a naturopathic doctor, licensed, went to naturopathic medicine school, but we learned a very little about homeopathy. We learned a general philosophy of it, but we didn't really learn the nuts and bolts and the really different philosophies within homeopathic medicine. So Dr. Shilpa, before we get into all of that, can you tell us a little bit about what got you interested in natural medicine and ultimately focusing on homeopathic medicine?
Okay, so I'll tell you a bit about my background. I grew up in India, in Mumbai, and in my family, I grew up around natural medicine. So mom, she was a stay-at-home mom, but she had done distance education in naturopathy, yoga, and so she was always giving us Ayurvedic coughs and cold drops and herbal teas, and she was sort of all into it. So it was very natural for me that when at the age of 17, when I had to choose a career, I always was interested in medicine, and I got into homeopathic medicine. So that was the start. But to be really frank, I did not really have a clue what homeopathy really was.
Most of the people listening right now are like, I'm right with you, Dr. Shilpa. I have no idea what it is.
So I thought it was like another form of herbal medicine, which is what most of us think, right?
Yeah.
But once I got into medical school, and in that very first year, we had this parallel system, which is quite unique, as I realize now in India, that we were trained in both conventional medicine and homeopathic medicines, and we went to both hospitals together and doing it all in parallel. So it was double the work, but double the challenge and the fun as well. But I realized very soon that, it was not what I actually thought. It was sort of working with these bizarre dilutions, ultra dilutions, and they were it was creating a physiological effect on the body. So at first it seemed really bizarre, really mythical, because I had a very strong logical brain as opposed to the other artistic brain. So it was always this conflict within me. But yet in the hospitals, I could see it was working. I mean, it was creating these powerful effects on patients. They were coming back, and we had these different types of outpatient clinics that we attended right from year 2. And so all that time, I was both fascinated and skeptical all at the same time. So that was my internal challenge as I went through those 5.5 years. But I remember the very first time that I got into homeopathy really. That's the incident I remember. It was, I think, in my first or second year of school. And I always thought homeopathy was for this chronic long-term disease conditions that you work on both at the level of the mind and the body, and that's how it creates that sort of an effect and creates a transformation in the patient at many levels, right? But at the same time, this was this rainy season, and we had planned a monsoon trekking trip with my family, and we had spent this entire day drenched to the skin under the falls, and the next day, and while coming back, I developed this really severe pain in my TMJ joint, right? So I tried some hot fermentation. I came home and I thought I'll take a few painkillers once I'm home. And that was how because I had a lecture and an exam the other day, right? And the next day, in the middle of this lecture, I realized I could not open my mouth. So my jaw was locked and I was in a panic because I was about to go and give a viva. So this was like the most
not good.
not good at all. I rushed to the medicine department. I hope they gave me some sort of an acute anti-inflammatory or something. I was not hoping for any homeopathy of any sort at that point of time. And I found Dr. Vijay, who was one of my Matura Medica teacher. And he looked at my jaw and I could not really talk and explain it. And he said, well, what happened? And I just explained, I was back from this trip and that's it. 2 sentences and we were in the monsoon trekking trip. And then he looked at my jaw and he said, well, this is a Rustok's syndrome. And he wrote ailments from getting wet or something of that sort. And I was like, short and sweet. One question, he handed me confidently a prescription of, I remember Rustok's 30C. At that point, we hadn't actually studied Rustok's until that time. And he said, take it every 5 minutes and I'll see you at the Viva in an hour.
Wow.
And, I took a couple of doses and at the end of that half an hour, I could open my mouth again. My muscles relaxed significantly and my jaw felt normal. And I was impressed. I don't remember what I did there, but there was something which changed for me. And the way I looked at homeopathy took a dramatic turn from that point onwards. And I just saw that there was this scope which I had not really thought of before, this entire spectrum of what could happen, right from 5-minute dosing to this once a month sort of a dosing. And I could see the different types of spectrum homeopathy covered. And I think I went on a journey of exploration, of looking at how what worked, what didn't work, why it worked, from people in all different walks of life, from an entire sort of scope of homeopathy, sort of a spectrum. And that's been my journey over the last 18 years now. So yes, I've worked with tens of thousands of patients. I worked as a GP in India for about 7 years, and then I moved to Sydney, Australia. So I've worked a lot with farmers in rural India because I was in those smaller towns and cities before I moved in here, and then to corporates in US and Canada and Australia because I have a global practice today. But I think I found my passion when I came to Australia. When I built this academy and I connected with beginners and I connected with their pain of this conflict that they go through, as the challenges of homeopathy are very different than any other type of modality that I've seen. And to be able they can impact their patients through my story and through my understanding and exploration, and having gone through the same challenge that they went through. I think that's my biggest so that's where I am. What's driving me right now is the students and the budding practitioners that I connect with my homeopathy network every day. So
that's really amazing. And I have to say, I am one of those practitioners that you have actually helped to help my patients. And I know some of my patients are listening right now who are, enjoying the benefits of homeopathic medicine. We really have Dr. Shilpa to thank for really helping me to understand the different ways to use homeopathic preparations and how to use them correctly. Because I was one of those people that, going back even before medical school, I had tried, I believe it was for the flu, a homeopathic over-the-counter medication for the flu. And I didn't take it every 15 minutes like it said on the package. I actually took it once and I said, oh, that doesn't work. and then I have some of my patients who have mistakenly not followed directions and given some to children and then gave them milk right after and it doesn't work. Like there's a lot of different, you really have to respect the energetic value of the preparations because they really are so unique. Can you talk a little bit about like what's in a homeopathic medicine and how is it made? Like how is it different than like an Advil or a painkiller that we might get in conventional medicine?
Okay, so when you come to homeopathics, and if I step back and look at it objectively, a homeopathic could be made from any substance in this entire universe, right from plants, animals, minerals, to even things, energetic things, like radiation, the solar rays, the lunar energy. So it seems really bizarre. It can go into that spectrum, but it can also go into the solid materialistic aspect as well. And it could be, but what we are really looking at is these substances are diluted. So say, for example, if you're using a plant extract to create the medicine like rose dogs, and it's a poisonous plant and poison ivy, right? And you cannot have it in tincture form, and it could cause severe reactions on your skin. And this is where with homeopathy, what you're doing is you're diluting, and there is another process. You are potentizing. That's the word we have in homeopathy, which means you are creating, it's succussion. It's where you are giving it rigorous shaking and rigorous jerking in that process. That's what happens in the pharmacies when they create this medicine. And so the serial dilution and succussion changes that medicine into a very, very ultra dilution material where there is no molecule of the original substance remaining at all at some point in time, right? But that is where people are very skeptical about what actually is happening here. So where is the medicine? There is no medicine. What has actually happened? So in a way, you can call them as energetic imprints of that plant or that animal or that energetic stimulus. And what homeopathics are is those are the medicines that you have. Those are the globules that are medicated with those potencies. And the interesting phenomena is that when you, and if you look at just that part of the medicine world or homeopathic medicine world, you could easily discard it. And that's what my scientific mind did when I started off and I was into this conventional hat on. But then if you look at what it is doing to patients in an actual clinic, because once those medicines are created, how do we know what's the power that they have? What is how do they work? So what people do is something they conduct a proving, which means these substances, once created into the sort of energetic medicine, a 30C or even, potencies below that, they prove it on healthy people. So there is a big definition of health, but the whole idea is to prove it on people, in every walk of life, in different, times and different groups of people, and record the symptoms that are created, not just in the physiology, but also in the mind and, the whole mind-body combination. So they look at the mental symptoms, the physical symptoms, and all the functional symptoms created by higher potencies. And if you want to look at the pathological symptoms, you look at the toxicological aspect of that medicine, right? So you record these in books called Materia Medica. And these are volumes of books documented through the years, 200 years now, of these different substances. And that's what we refer to now match with the symptoms of the patient. So it works on the principle of like cures like. So the whole idea is to use a substance based on the symptoms it creates to produce. So for example, Rustox in the Materia Medica has a very strong action on the joints and the muscles and the ligaments and the tendons, and it has created pain as if the muscle is in spasm, or pains as if, it's locked. And much better by moving, and it's much better by, and its ailments, the causative factors people have documented is when they get wet. So it's a very unique sort of a syndrome. It's not this remedy is better for inflammation or that remedy is better for. It's a whole syndrome that you create, and that's the whole syndrome that you actually match in patients. And the idea is that a remedy can create those patterns of symptoms at any level. So right from pathology, when you're looking at lower potencies, to effects on the, the mental state, to creating, fear and panic and anger and different types of variations of emotional disturbances in the patient in higher and higher potencies. So what that particular remedy can have a huge spectrum of action. Mm-hmm. And so when you say I took Voustox for my temporomandibular joint dysfunction, but on the other hand, Voustox at another level has helped people, get, release fears of, long-seated fears and restlessness and anxiety, terror, and help children with, bedwetting because of some sort of a terror they've had in the past. So it's amazing to think that you are talking about the same remedy because, yes, it's the same remedy, but it has this whole spectrum of action. Mm-hmm. And that's where the skill of the practitioner comes in to be able to recognize what is that particular, window of this remedy that I'm using for this particular patient, and hence what is the potency that I use it, because each potency has its own spectrum of action, and what is the repetition that I need to do so it registers.
So it's very detailed, and any mistakes in any of those areas cause it not to work, right?
Absolutely. That's
so
correct.
Going back to what you were saying about the proving, just so people can understand. So in a healthy individual with no symptoms, if they're given a high dose of one of these remedies, they'd actually start displaying symptoms. Is that correct?
That's correct. Yeah. But a very high potency of the remedy might not really create the proving symptoms. Okay. And that is the reason a higher potency would affect a person only if that person has some sort of an idiosyncrasy or some sort of a trait which attracts that Voustox phenomena. Okay. So say, for example, I'm taking the example of Voustox because I've just given that whole experience of Voustox. So that is the reason when you are proving, mostly remedies are proved in really low potencies, but if it's a poisonous substance, then to a dilution where it's safer. Right? And so most remedies, if you see, are proved in about a 30 C and lower, so that it can work on every person irrespective of their own susceptibility or their own reactivity or their own, because you have every person, and as the potencies go higher, you have to have an affinity for that substance. So you have to have some sort of a Voustox state in your mind to be able to benefit and register that substance. Yeah. And hence higher potencies will not create a proving in most people unless there are specific sensitive provers who are sensitive to Voustox.
Yes, I think that's a big misconception that's out there.
That's correct.
Very interesting. So there are different types of homeopathic medicine, right? There's the different schools of thought and different ways of using homeopathics, correct? Can you talk about maybe the different types and how people can maybe understand the differences and the different philosophies?
Correct. So when, I'll go back to how it was, discovered in the first place. So when Hahnemann actually, for the very first time, he was a conventional doctor. And when he, discovered that he was not happy with the way conventional medicine was evolved at that particular point in time.
Then, I love that. So listening to the summit today, you're here listening to Nature Cure Summit because you're not happy with conventional medicine the way it's being run today. And we're talking about a man hundreds of years ago, Hahnemann, he was a doctor, conventional doctor who was not happy with medicine, and this is how homeopathy got created. So I just thought that was kind of funny.
That's correct. It's always an out-of-the-box medicine, right? So it is not the norm. You do it and you work with homeopathics when conventional medicine isn't doing something for you, isn't working. I respect what conventional medicine offers, but I think homeopathy, once you know the spectrum and you know the pros and cons of it, it's a fantastic form of medicine if you know how to use it wisely.
Exactly.
So I go back to Hahnemann, and he was translating some form. So he went into translations of some work from German to English, and at that point he realized he was looking at a remedy called cinchona, which is from the bark of the quinine tree. which was used for intermittent fevers and malarial types of fevers then. And he realized he was not happy with the way it was used at that point. People felt it was useful for intermittent fevers because it had astringent properties or something of that sort. He said, what rubbish? How can it be, because it's astringent, how can it be used for intermittent fever? Mm-hmm. So he had an idea to actually, I don't know where it came from, to actually consume some of the quinine bark and see what happens. And interestingly, he developed symptoms similar to intermittent fever. So fever with chills, and I think that was the point when he realized, well, it works because it creates it.
Yeah.
Right? So that was a very diagnostic point of view of homeopathy, which I call stage 1 today, which means you have a set of diagnostic symptoms and you say this remedy is good for that, which is what the conventional medicine has taught us, and that's what norm is, right? But very soon you realize it's not just intermittent fevers. This particular bark can be for any form of fever, which is similar, but it needs to have this particular periodicity. It has to be one chill, heat and and sweat, right. And then it has to go, and it has to come every day at around evening time, 5 p.m. Mm-hmm. And so we started looking at something extra, some real peculiars. That's what we call in homeopathy. And then you realize that is why cinchona can work in any form of fevers. So this is migration from just looking at basic phenomena and basic common symptoms into there is a cinchona fever, if that makes sense. That is the Rostock syndrome, as I mentioned before, for the joint. So it's like you look into the peculiarities and the local phenomena, and that becomes stage 2 for me. So if you're prescribing remedies based on local peculiars, 3 or 4 symptoms, which are not outside the diagnostic box, that is stage 2. Okay. And this is fantastic homeopathy. Yeah. Stage 2 is the bread and butter of many homeopaths in the world. Most of the GPs I know in India would work at this level. And most of the first aid classes that you would take and people would work with homeopathy is at stage 2. That is a wonderful homeopathy. You need to just know how you use it, how you repeat it, and how you work with it, right? Okay. And then we go to something where he realized, well, cinchona doesn't just have an effect on the fevers. It has a much more deeper effect. It has an effect on the mind and the body. It creates this form of stimulation within you, and an excitement internally, where you have lots of ideas, and at the level of the mind, and your intellect is stimulated, as well as within your body. It creates a form of stimulation in different, the digestive tract and other areas of the body. Yeah. This was where he was starting to look at the general picture of cinchona, and he said it is beyond these fevers. It is this whole, it can affect every section and every system of the body. This is what I call stage 3 and 4. So this is where professional classical sort of homeopathy, that's what we say, is where you now look and take into consideration the mind and the body. So if you have a state of a person who has been overstimulated with lots of stimulants, rich food, or lots of alcohol, or
even neurotoxic activity.
Neurotoxic, absolutely. And then they are completely drained and completely exhausted and fatigued, and they get into the state of mind and body where they just are completely apathetic and indifferent. That whole phenomena. And cinchona in a very high potency can actually reverse the state and get this person back into life and transform at that level. And it has nothing to do with malaria or intermittent fevers. So that for me is the potential where homeopathy can actually work at that level and create a phenomenal transformation in the mind and body, and heal holistically in these different personalities. And when you go to, and it's hard to do that on yourself or your family. If you are in that system, you need some professional who can objectively look at you, understand this process. And that's where the consultations in homeopathy come into place, where you work with a practitioner, they look at the whole record of your past history, your family history, the whole migration of your symptoms, how it started, and they choose one of the remedies from 3,000 plus remedies from the entire database, and they have to make the right choice. So that's the whole idea. And once that medicine is given, then they would work on how the picture evolves and how you can track back and evolve and progress and get to a level of health and where you can resist illness and you can bounce back and you're not even depend on any form of medicine, homeopathy or otherwise. That's the potential homeopathy can offer such people.
And that's the beauty of it. It's not that you're going to be on this particular medication for life. It isn't just masking a symptom that I know a lot of people here are listening because they're tired of getting a medication that's going to mask one symptom and create a new one. In homeopathy, it's about, it's about restoring the vital energy in the body and bringing back balance and in a way that is not going to bring about new symptoms or make you dependent on a medication. That's what I find so beautiful about it.
Absolutely. And, to add to that, it's like I call it a stimulus because when you dose, you're actually stimulating the body to reactivate and realign and rebalance and get on a roll, right? And you keep on stimulating whenever it slows down. And at one point in time, it has the momentum, it's got into this whole roll, and if the body is rolling, that's great. You just reduce off the stimulus, it doesn't need it. It can function, and that's what we're meant to be. We can take care of ourselves, and your health will be in your hands then, right? And you take it to that level with homeopathy and the stimulus you provide with your dosing.
Awesome. So Shilpa, there are some people listening who are health practitioners who are interested in learning a little more about how they can implement some homeopathy into their practice. So can you talk a little bit about your online academy that you offer?
Okay, so I created this online academy in 2014. I think that was the first time I did that. And the whole intention of this academy was once you have a passion for homeopathy and you are a practitioner who want to implement homeopathy within your practice, I wanted to create an infrastructure where I could have experts in different types of homeopathy, the way I mentioned, at different stage of homeopathy, right from you wanting to work with diagnostic or therapeutic homeopathy to this life-changing stage 3 and 4 homeopathy, and have experts, because there are people who spend their entire lives using one form of homeopathy.
Right.
And they're great at what they do. But I always encourage my students and my practitioners to pick one tool that your patient needs at that point in time and which works for him or her. Mm-hmm. And so I'm a big fan of having all these different tools into your toolkit so that you can pick up the one that you need for your patient at that time. Yeah. So this academy was to bring these experts and have them create practical courses beyond the theory that you learn or beyond, it's just from their case studies or their wisdom they have created through their experience, and share it with the students and the practitioners who want to learn that and enrich their homeopathy and take it away so they can directly apply it in their practice and help their clients in a much better way and have that direct one-on-one connection with that expert. Yeah. So whenever they are backtracking or something, they can always connect with them and get their advice and move on. So that's the whole idea of this academy. Yeah.
Beautiful. It is a fabulous academy. I've been through a lot of the courses, and I can totally recommend it. If anyone wants to talk to me about it, feel free to reach out to me or to Dr. Shilpa, and she'll be happy to explain how you can get involved. So a lot of people listening are not practitioners. You do have a wonderful free gift for people who are wanting to use some natural healing remedies that they can find around their own house and in their own community. So can you tell us a little bit about the free gift?
Yes, absolutely. So there's one doctor who I really appreciate and admire, Dr. Joe, and he's from New Zealand, and he has a background in cardiac and thoracic medicine, right? And I admire Dr. Joe because he's an excellent homeopathic stage 1 and 2, which is this whole diagnostic organ level homeopathy, and he's created enormous results at that level. And at some point in time, me and Dr. Joe got talking into, he had created such wonderful, courses for practitioners, and we thought of, well, how about you creating something for people, the general public?
Yeah.
They can use, this is simple homeopathy. It's just basic homeopathy, but really highly effective. And we needed some, a person who has that, wisdom and knowledge at such an integrative form of medicine to be able to create a course for lay people or for, general public with highly effective homeopathy. So Dr. Joe has created a beautiful course, and that's what I call your natural first aid kit. So it's amazing that when he studied homeopathy at that level, and he could bring his knowledge to a level where he can create a simple first aid course, but with the wisdom of having seen it all and worked with such intense pathology with homeopathy, but to be able to give you those beautiful remedies that you can work for your everyday situations. So this free course, wonderful. I think I'm so proud of, I love this course. It's very generous of him, and he's got one for accidents and injuries. So for everyday common accidents happening in homes and in your families, and you can use not just homeopathics, but even things you find in your kitchen pantry or in your gardens. And it's a beautiful course. So it's just, you can pick things up from your home, from your gardens, or the few homeopathics in your first aid kit and get and help people around you. So that's what I would love to give you.
Oh, that is so awesome. And we have a lot of moms who are listening and watching today. So, accidents and injuries, they do happen around the house. And it's nice to be able to have something go to natural that you can feel confident in helping your family with it and yourself. So thank you so much. It's very generous, Shilpa. I really appreciate it.
Good. And don't hesitate to contact Dr. Joe through the discussion forum. He's wonderful. So even if you said something in the videos and you have a question, put it down below, and he can give you such a lot of wisdom, on that, and elaborate if you have queries. So yes, that's a great connection with him as well.
Thank you so much. And so Dr. Shilpa, I put all your links down below this video so people can contact you if they want to learn more about how to get involved in your academy or a little bit more about what you do. And again, I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart for really helping me on my journey and my patients as well. So you've really done so much for so many people. Thanks for breaking it down, making it accessible, and really helping us to understand the power of homeopathic medicine. So thank you.
Oh, that's my pleasure, Michelle. Thanks for having me, and thanks for connecting with your people. So yes, it's a privilege and an honor, and I do hope that you benefit from this and pursue your passion for homeopathy and get more into this. And it's an evergreen science, and you are a student for life. So thanks so much.
And one more thing I just had to bring up. So when you're telling your story, you're talking about going trekking in monsoon season. So you're one tough girl, let me tell you.
Yeah.
I couldn't tell. I was like, oh my gosh, she's going to go trekking in a monsoon. You are a tough cookie.
I am.
All right. Well, thank you guys all for watching today. I really hope you found this very, very valuable. I hope you will go download that free gift from Dr. Joe, the injuries and accidents, homeopathic and natural medicines to learn how to take care of yourself and your family. It is a free course, and like Dr. Shilpa said, you have access to ask questions and you will get answers. So thank you again for watching today. Thank you, Dr. Shilpa, and I hope you guys have a great evening. Take care and have a great day. Bye-bye.
Very much. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thanks for it.
Hey there, it's Dr. Michelle, and I just wanted to commend you and thank you for spending a little bit of your day to do something empowering. I hope that you found value in today's content and that you'll go out and use this new information to improve your life, even in a small way. I want you to open up to the possibility of making today, this week, and this year the greatest possibility you've had so far to improve your life. This is about breaking out of old paradigms. It is about learning the act of living naturally. It's about honoring who you are and allowing all that is good into your life. I promise to continue to bring you educational, empowering, and inspiring content to help you achieve the body you dream about, but more importantly, help you live the life you deserve. Remember, all that you need, you already have. It's right here, in nature and within yourself. So stay tuned for some more value-packed interviews and be sure to check out all of the resources at glownaturalmedicine.com.